A doctor leans over a small boy's legs and frowns. One leg bends inward, the other curves out and runs nearly 6 centimeters shorter than the first. The spine is twisted. The verdict is quiet and final. This child is crippled. He will walk with difficulty. He will not run. He will certainly never play football. The boy says nothing. He just smiles, that wide, sleepy, mischievous smile, and walks back out into the dust of a little Brazilian village to chase a ball on the 2 broken legs that, the doctors agreed, God had given him by mistake. Nobody in that room could have guessed it. But those legs were about to become the most beautiful accident in the history of the sport. That boy won 2 World Cups. He made grown men fall over with laughter and disbelief. For one impossible decade, Brazil, the greatest football nation on earth, quite simply did not lose a single match he started. Pelé called him the best he ever saw. And yet, if you stopped 100 people in the street today and asked them his name, almost none of them could tell you. This is the story of the most joyful footballer who ever lived, and somehow the most forgotten. This is the story of Garrincha, and of how the very thing that made him magic was the same thing, exactly, that destroyed him. He was born in 1933 in Pau Grande, a sleepy textile factory village in the hills outside Rio de Janeiro. His name was Manuel Francisco dos Santos, but nobody ever called him that. His sister looked at this tiny, crooked, restless little boy and thought of a small brown bird that flits through the Brazilian scrub, quick, useless, impossible to catch. The Garrincha, the wren. The name stuck for the rest of his life. He grew up barefoot and happy, fishing, hunting birds in the hills, drinking from the same bottle his father drank from. School bored him. The factory floor bored him. He married young and worked when he felt like it. Only one thing ever truly held his attention: a ball at his feet, and a defender in front of him, just begging to be made a fool of. In 1953, a Rio giant called Botafogo finally took a look at the village boy with the bent legs. In the trial, they put him up against Nilton Santos, a Brazilian international, one of the finest defenders in the world. Garrincha took the ball, dropped his shoulder, and sent the great man the wrong way so completely that he stumbled and fell. Then he did it again. Nilton Santos walked off that pitch and told the club one thing: sign him, because I never want to play against him again. On his official debut, Garrincha scored a hat-trick, and football discovered something it had never quite seen. Those twisted legs weren't a weakness to overcome. They were the weapon. No defender alive could read which way a body built that wrong was about to go. You have to understand what he actually did to people, because it wasn't normal dribbling. He didn't just beat a man and move on. He would beat him, leave him on the floor, and then stop. Wait. Let the defender scramble back up, get set again, and beat him a second time, the exact same way, on the exact same side. He toyed with the best players in the world the way a cat toys with string. The crowds didn't just cheer him, they laughed, helplessly, with sheer delight. Because Garrincha never seemed to care about the score. He cared about the joy of it, the trick, the nutmeg, the impossible swerve of the ball. He was playing the game of a child in the dust of Pau Grande, except now the whole world was watching, and the defenders had names you'd know. By 1958, Brazil could not leave him out any longer. At the World Cup in Sweden, the coaches were terrified of the wild boy who answered to no tactics and no clock, and for 2 matches they left him on the bench. Then the players themselves walked in and demanded him. He was unleashed against the Soviet Union, and in the first 3 minutes he produced football so absurd, so far beyond what anyone thought a human could do, that those minutes are still described as the greatest opening to any game the tournament has ever seen. He hit the post. He bent defenders into knots. Brazil won that World Cup, their first ever, with a 17-year-old Pelé beside him and Garrincha tearing the right wing to ribbons. The boy who would never run had just helped put the most beautiful crown in sport onto his country's head. And then came 1962. Chile. This time it was supposed to be Pelé's tournament, until Pelé pulled up injured early and limped out of the competition for good. A whole nation's heart sank. And in that exact moment, Garrincha simply took the entire thing onto his bent legs and carried it. Against England, he scored twice, one of them a header, from a man barely 5'7". Against the hosts, Chile, in front of a furious home crowd, he scored twice more. Late in that semi-final, he was sent off, and by every rule, it should have ended his World Cup. But the magic was so precious that the rules themselves bent around him. Petitions were raised, a president reportedly stepped in, and he was cleared to play the final. Brazil won it. Garrincha was named the best player of the entire World Cup, and finished as its top scorer too. He had won the whole thing, very nearly on his own. Across his career, whenever he and Pelé started together, Brazil played 40 times, and never, not once, lost. But here is the cruelty hiding inside all that joy. Everything that made Garrincha unplayable came from one simple fact. He never, ever grew up. He played like a child because, in every way that wasn't football, he stayed one. Doctors who examined him spoke of the mind of an innocent, a man who lived entirely inside the present moment. He didn't understand money, or contracts, or tomorrow. He played for the laugh and nothing else, signed whatever paper was slid in front of him, and gave his wages away as fast as they arrived. And he drank. The same cachaça his father drank, from the same kind of bottle, in the same village. More, and more, and more, year after year. There was no discipline anywhere to catch him when he fell, because discipline was the single thing his genius had never, ever needed. The freedom was the whole gift, and the freedom had no breaks. So the fall, when it came, was long and quiet and merciless. The knees that should never have worked in the first place finally gave out, and the operations could not save the magic. The drinking hardened into illness. He fathered at least 14 children across a tangle of relationships. His marriage to the famous samba singer Elza Soares fell apart. In 1969, drunk behind the wheel, he drove into a truck, and the crash killed his own mother-in-law, a guilt he carried and drowned for the rest of his days. The money was long gone. The cheering was long gone. The greatest dribbler the world had ever seen was hospitalized 8 times in a single year, broke, swollen, and half forgotten. And on the 20th of January 1983, his body finally surrendered. Cirrhosis, an alcoholic coma. He was 49 years old. The joy of the people died with almost nothing left to his name. And then, too late, always too late, Brazil remembered. His coffin was carried from the great Maracanã Stadium, where he had thrilled hundreds of thousands, back to the little village of Pau Grande, where it all began. And along the road, the people came. In their hundreds of thousands they lined the route, the same crowds he had once filled the stadiums for, just to say goodbye to the boy who had made them happy. On his grave, they wrote the truest line in all of football. Here rests in peace the one who was the joy of the people, Mané Garrincha. Today, the national stadium in the capital, Brasilia, carries his name. The doctors swore he would never walk. He won 2 World Cups and gave an entire nation a reason to feel joy. And we let him die alone and poor before he was 50. If the story of a footballing god, lifted to the heavens and then quietly let go, is the kind of story that stays with you, then stay with us. There are far more of them than the game would ever like to admit.